Okay, guys, hello everybody. Today is our first school session with one of my best friends. His name is Eugene, and he's spent a long time in the United States. Same as me. I've lived in the US for 15 years, and now I'm here, and I'm going to teach you a lot of cool phrases, good phrases and collocations in English. And here's my friend Eugene. Eugene,
Hello,
introduce
group.
yourself.
It's nice to meet everyone. My name is Eugene. In Russian, my name is Zhenya. And as Alex already mentioned, close to half my life I've spent living in the States, in the United States. I immigrated to the States when I was 9, went to school there, finished university there. And then I came back to live in Crimea and in Russia eventually. So that's my very quick background history, and I'm happy to help with this little video session.
Okay, cool. Okay, today I'll ask you one question about one cool idiom, right? I don't know if you know the meaning, but for me, I've heard it first time actually, and that's why I'm going to discuss this idiom first. Switch the gear or switch gears. Usually they say switch gears. When do people usually say that in the US? Switch gears.
I think when you go to a car mechanic and he's having some trouble with the car gears and one doesn't fit, then he has to take another one and switch the gear. Is that maybe something that you possibly mean?
You know, from one hand, you're right. From the other hand, it's American idiom. And when you
Oh,
say,
you're talking about an idiom. Let me try to then approach the question a little bit differently. If it's an idiom, I've heard of it before. It's actually very widely used, I think, everywhere in the language of education and common language and politics and news. Switch gears, to me, as far as I can remember, it means let's drop one subject and let's go to another subject. Let's switch, or not even always a subject, but let's change the mood, change the atmosphere, change something so that in the end we can have a better result. Something like this
excellent.
is what it means.
Yes, it's when you start thinking or acting in a new way. Yeah, and you're
Yeah,
100% right. And in Russian, how would you translate it in Russian, by the way?
Давайте посмотрим на ситуацию с другой стороны, или давайте подойдем
Может,
к
поменяем
какой-то
подход к
проблеме.
ней. Поменяем подход к этой
Поменяем
ситуации,
подход. Вот,
да?
хорошо. Да.
Да, поменять подход. Yeah. Okay, so switching the gears is one of the coolest phrases I have ever heard in my life. Okay, the other phrase you told me before, remember? Stop beating around the bushes. This was a pretty cool phrase.
Yeah, to beat around the bush. Yeah, it's one that I just thought of as far as it's worthy of an introduction in this video. Do you want to tackle this one? To beat around the bush?
Yes, beat around the bushes. What does it mean? I mean, a lot of people don't know the meaning, trust me.
Yeah. Okay, so this one I think is very difficult because I think something like switch gears, you can kind of understand the meaning from if you're imagining two gears. Gears — это шестеренки по-русски. It's not a very common word. And you can imagine one fits like this and the other doesn't, so you have to switch so they fit better. But you can kind of make the connection towards switching an approach of thinking towards an idea when you hear the term switching gears.
Right.
But beating around the bush, on the other hand, I think there's no way you can derive the meaning just from hearing those words. If you can imagine a bush and someone is physically beating something around it, it's a very strange mixture of words. The expression, the idiom, actually means, it means when someone encourages you to stop beating around the bush, it means they want you to be direct. They want you to say exactly what they mean, exactly the most important thing, and stop kind of talking and thinking about nonsense that is maybe not important to this situation in particular. Does that make sense?
Get to the point, right? Get down. Let's get down to
the
business.
point. Yeah. Stop wasting the time. Get to the point. Exactly. I think
Very
that's
good.
Exactly the same kind of an expression.
Stop give me all this crap. Get to the point. You know, I don't want to hear all this nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. What's
I
the
think even like
translation?
if I was going to make like a small distinction between getting to the point and stop beating around the bush. Stop beating around the bush is even like more aggressive. It's like you're actually frustrated about what's going on, and you just stop doing this. Stop beating around the bush. But
Yes.
getting to the
Stop
point, you can
it.
kind of say politely to somebody. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the translation? What's your opinion? What is the
Hmm.
translation of this phrase?
Of beating around the of
Yeah.
asking someone to stop beating around the bush. Наверное, что-то типа прекрати, тяжело сказать, прекрати обходить то, о чем нужно поговорить. Наверное, ты
Стоп
поможешь
бегать
лучше.
вокруг и около. Стоп, перестань бегать вокруг да около. Давай уже к делу переходить. Правильно?
Вот, да, вот так вот, да. Это именно то, что есть. Вот.
Ходить вокруг да около. Вот у нас же есть даже пословицы такие, да, которые прям подходят к их вот выражениям. Очень подходят.
Да,
Да,
да. И
да, да,
оно
да.
подходит идеально к этому.
Okay, now the next one, and this one is pretty cool too. I'm sorry, I got my wires crossed. What do you think it can mean? I got my wires crossed.
Let me think. Let me tell you what I think it means, and then you can correct me
Okay.
because I'm sure you've given it much more thought and you've heard it more than I
Yeah.
have. I think it means something like I'm confused in some way. I mistook one thing for the other, referring to something specific. But actually, this expression I've heard, and for some reason I just can't remember the exact meaning. So maybe you can help me with the meaning of this expression.
I think it's just it's exactly what you just said. I'm confused and I didn't quite understand, right? I got my wires crossed. I mixed up, right? For example, I'm saying, okay, Sergey, come in. And you say, man, I'm not a Sergey. I'm Eugene. My name is Eugene. And I say, oh man, I'm sorry. I got my wires crossed. It means that I'm mixed up, right? I said something wrong. I did something wrong. I think that's the meaning of it, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you can even visualize this particular expression, and it will help you remember the idiom. Let's say you have a laptop and you need to plug in, let's say, the headphones into the laptop, and
Right.
you're plugging in the headphone wire into the USB drive, and it makes this strange, confusing situation where nothing is working correctly. So you can visualize this example, and it'll help somebody remember the idiom, I have my wires crossed, for example.
That's the best explanation I could expect. So if you get confused or mixed up or you made a mistake, right? And probably, you've got some different understanding of the situation. That's when you can say, I have got my wires crossed. When you didn't understand, when you mixed up, when you've already mixed up, right? What do you think it's in Russian? How you can translate this one?
Boy, I'm having trouble thinking of a clever one that sounds like an idiom, но что-то я все перепутал, что-то до меня не доходит, что-то я немножко торможу. Those are the only things that are coming to my mind, but I'm sure there's a better one that you have.
Я перепутал, я напутал. Yeah, I think it's exactly what you just said. Я перепутал, я напутал. И это не совсем то, что я имел. Да. Это именно как раз, я думаю, это и есть. Ну, если, допустим, ты нечаянно сказал, но потом ты говоришь, там, I mixed up, that's my wrong, my mistake, right?
Да. Кстати, мы по поводу них дали примеры, но мы еще не дали пример к прошлым. We didn't give an example of the last idiom of the one where stop beating around the bush. Maybe for our listeners, we can give an example as well.
Let's do this one. You're right. Give me an example for stop beating around the bushes.
I think a good example, and I think this phrase is actually used in this particular situation, would be imagine a patient has a serious health condition, and he has already given his tests, his blood tests, his other tests to the doctors for the analysis. And then he goes to finally see the doctor, and the doctor is supposed to present him with results. If you can put yourself in the place of the patient, he just wants to know one thing: if he's going to be okay, maybe if he's going to survive, or if he's going to have some long-lasting health consequences that are irreparable, for example. And so he goes to the doctor and they sit down, and for the first 10 minutes, the doctor is kind of giving him a little bit of history. Well, this could happen, but sometimes this, and constantly on the mind of this patient, he just wants to know, doctor, just tell me, am I going to be okay? So in this case, he goes, doctor, please stop. I just want to know one thing. Stop beating around the bush. Tell me, am I going to live? Am I going to have some problem that's long lasting? And then the doctor at this point is expected to say no or yes. Hopefully we pray for the patient that the doctor says yes, I think.
Right. Okay, that's a very good explanation, by the way, Eugene. I love the way you do that. Yeah. Okay, now, what do you think means the phrase? What does it mean? Be on the ball. Be on the ball. That's a weird expression, by the way. For example, oh man, you are on the ball. What does it mean? You are on the ball, or she's on the ball.
On the ball, like an animal.
On the ball, no, on the ball, like round ball.
On the ball. Let me think. Be on the ball. You know, this one, I have no clue whatsoever. So it's something that you're going to have to.
What is the most precious thing? It's your reaction. Because you see sometimes people who even lived in the United States for so long, but they don't know, they don't have any idea what phrase is that, right? Because some phrases, they just don't make any sense even for American, right? So be on the ball, like what do you usually imagine? You are standing on the top of the ball, right? That's what, be on the ball. You know what's interesting thing about this phrase?
Like a typical, like I have to visualize standing in front of a bowl, like on the top of a bowl that's someone, like an eating bowl, yeah? Like a bowl for cereal.
No, actually, what they mean is to stand on the ball, which is like playing ball. You know?
Oh, a ball. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes, and that's how I imagine that. But I was kind of surprised when I learned that the meaning of the phrase is to be quick to understand and react to things. For example, if I'm telling you, you know, do you know this woman? You know, she looks very silly, blah blah blah. But you tell me, you know, Alex, it's not true. She's really quick on the ball. So it means that she's really quick to understand things. She has very good reaction on things, and I mean that's the thing, to be quick on the ball.
Yeah. Okay. Now I understand completely. I think there's a similar also expression. You can say someone's good at thinking on their feet or something like this. I'm not going to say 100% that that's the exact way that is being said, but there's another similar one. If it comes to me, I'll let you know. But now I have +1 idiom in my head. So thank you, Alex.
Go ahead. Tell me.
No. I mean, +1 is the one that you, I've learned a new idiom from you. That's what I meant.
Okay, so now I want to ask you something which a lot of my students, they're asking me about this phrase, this particular phrase. It's a pretty cool one too. To get the hang of something. To get a hang of something. For example, I want to get a hang on something, on this job, on this, I don't know, on this subject, on this project. I want to get a hang of something. What does it mean?
This, from all the expressions that we've mentioned so far, is got to be the most common one and extremely important one. Getting the hang of something basically means becoming used to something, becoming proficient or becoming good at something. And typical example is very often your boss at your new job will ask you, he doesn't expect you to completely master something, some activity, but he just wants you to sit down, to play around with some, or look over some information and just get a hang of what's going on, or get a feel, or get a hang for how to approach a particular situation or use something. It can be a computer program that a person hasn't used before. It can be a particular way that the company decides to do some specific task. So is that kind of what do you think?
Yeah, you're right. Is when people do something pretty well, right, and they get used to it. They get a hang of it, right? So after long practice, they become almost like experts in something. You know, that's how I see it. Yeah, that's exactly what you just said.
Yeah. I think you corrected me a little bit, and you were correct to do so. I think there's like a little bit of step. At first, you don't know how to do something, and then you know how to do something a little bit, and then the next level is you really get the hang of it. Maybe you're not the master of this yet, but you're definitely at a proficient level. And I think you corrected me well. It's not kind of like the beginner's level of knowledge, but it's when you're comfortable with doing something and when you're not confused by it.
That's exactly what it means. Yep. And I completely agree with you. Now, the next one. What do you think means a gray area? That's a gray area. Some people say that's a gray area. What does it mean? Like the color gray. Yeah.
Yep. This one, extremely widely used, very common. A gray area is you have some things that are clear as far as information, as far as maybe the future. And if you say something, this is a gray area, it's some part of this information that is confusing or unknown, or you're not sure what's going to happen. So you can say, maybe if I can give an example, what are we going to do with this project at the company? Well, for this project, everything is clear. We know exactly what we're going. And then the boss asks you, or somebody asks you, well, what about this other thing that we have planned? And this one, you haven't given it much thought. You could say, oh, for me right now, it's a gray area. I have to think about it. What do you think?
Excellent. That's exactly what it means. Yeah, I love it. And after you explain it to me, I know this word better, and I know this phrase much better. Now, if somebody tells you, get your head around something, you should get your head around something. What does it mean? I mean, what I imagine is just I take off my head and I just get it around something. I don't understand what it means.
You have to stretch it first, the head, you have to use the tools, and then you can wrap it around the something.
Yes. So what does it mean in reality? Get your head around something. What can it possibly mean?
Yeah, I think this one, you can kind of visualize what I said. I said it as a joke, but then I think that's what it comes down to. It means, I'm having trouble explaining it, but basically becoming, it's almost like getting a feel for it. Get your head, get your head around something, to study something, to become familiar with something. This is what it means to me, but this expression, I've heard it, and I just don't remember exactly the context.
You're right. You succeed in understanding. That's the meaning. You succeed in understanding something. It means you get your head around something. And it can be anything, studying of the subject, doing some work. I mean, you succeeded in doing it, in understanding it.
How would you say in Russian?
In Russian, get your head around something.
Let me think.
Это как бы ты это понял, да? Ты конкретно...
Я это должен переварить, иногда говорят. Вот переварить эту информацию, или переварить то, что случилось, да. Вот. И тогда, когда ты перевариваешь, ты уже, ты уже спокойно, уже немножко больше понимаешь.
I got my head around it. It means I kind of digested it, right?
Yeah, digested.
You know what it is. Excellent. Okay, this is the cool phrase. Get the picture. I often heard it, in the movies. Get the picture. When do they usually use this phrase? Get the picture.
Okay. Yeah, in the movies, it's actually. I had to imagine myself seeing it in a movie before I figured out what it meant. I remember what it meant correctly. So it means to have a full understanding, but I mean, it's a little bit different from the other expressions that we used before, because I think get the picture is, it's like either you understand it or you don't understand it. Either you get the picture or you don't get the picture. It's a very polarizing expression.
Yes.
There's no middle ground. It's not like to become familiar with something. What was the other expression that we used? To wrap your head around something.
Get your head around something. Get your head around something.
It's like if you hear this click, you get it. You get the picture. But if you don't,
Exactly.
you just have no idea what's going on. You don't get the picture.
Yeah, like an example, right? For example, I'm telling you a story. Something happened, right? And I see your eyes. You kind of missing it. You don't understand what's going on. So I can ask you: did you get a picture? Right? Did you get a picture what I just said? Did you get a picture that I just showed to you? Right? I mean, it's like I don't know. I told you that there was some meeting, right? And there were hundreds of people who were attending this meeting. And then I can say, did you get the picture? About all this crowd of people, this meeting. Did you get the picture of what were they discussing at this meeting? Did you get the picture, the whole picture of it? I think that's exactly what it means. Or you can say, didn't you get the picture? Right? Like, did you kind of understand what I just said? I think that's, like you said, understanding or not understanding, or missing the point, missing the picture of what happened, right?
Yep, I think so, exactly.
How
По-русски
do
как
we
это можно... По-русски тяжело, да, вот сделать, отличить именно это выражение от других похожих. Но у меня вот что-то только что крутилось в голове по-русски. Может быть, ты подскажешь, как это правильнее сказать?
Get the picture. Ты, короче, ты уяснил, ты поймал вот эту картинку, что я тебе только что описал. Но это даже так мы не говорим, ты поймал картинку. Как нам было, как это по-русски даже сказать?
Можно только через сленг мне приходит в голову. Ты врубился наконец-то?
Ты врубился, вот да,
ты дошел уже, вот только так вот. А другими словами, более грамотными, к сожалению... Да, более грамотными словами по-русски у меня не получается.
Да, ты врубился, точно. Ну, кстати, классно, ты врубился. Я, знаешь, у меня сразу, ты визуализировал вот это. Это, еще такая глупее не придумаешь. Okay, when people tell you that they don't have a clue, what do they mean by that?
When people tell you they don't have a clue, it means they have no idea on this particular subject that we're talking about. So, as an example, you go to somebody and you think maybe it's a teacher. Let's say it's a teacher who teaches art, and you go to him and you say, look, I'm using Photoshop and I want to change the setting to make the colors more reflective, something like this. Can you show me? And the art teacher is going to say, look, I'm an actual art teacher. I do things by hand. I have no knowledge on computers. I don't have a clue on how to do this. Right. So that would be an example.
In Russian, it would be like, да я понятия не имею. I don't have a clue.
Да. У меня даже, I have no basic knowledge of it.
Exactly. I don't have a slightest clue. Я малейшего понятия не имею, да? I don't have any idea. Okay, this is a very cool translation and a cool phrase. Now, jump into conclusion. Sometimes they say just jump to conclusions, right? Jump to conclusions. What do you think it means? Jump to conclusions.
Yep. Jump to conclusions. It's actually, you can use this phrase in a positive way, and it's often used, I think, in a negative way. It means pretty much сразу
принимать решение, да?
Принимать решение или принимать вывод. Вот что же значит эта конкретная ситуация.
Да.
Вот. Да. Очень часто она звучит как негативная, то есть you jump to the conclusion too quickly. Ты слишком быстро, то есть ты не обработал всю информацию, you haven't gathered all the information.
Without knowing all the facts, because probably there is some other truth about it, and you have already jumped into conclusions, right? And you can do mistakes. You can make mistakes when something like that happens. Never jump to conclusions. That's what Americans sometimes say.
Yeah. I'm sorry for my for my little cat phone call situation. It will go away in a second. Let me try to address it. I completely forgot about it.
No problem. You know what? We can stop now. It's okay. They will cut it. And then we will continue our lesson. And we will check now what's going on. I mean, how is the recording? Okay?
Yep, sounds good. Let's check the recording. And then next time I'll definitely remember to